In this video, I will show you how to make this 3D ice cream cup gift box, which is an SVG file from Simply Crafty SVGs. Before we begin putting together this little ice cream cup, which is also a gift box, so the ice cream comes off. It's a lid. So you can see this is one of the finished ones, my strawberry version, with little gems down here, that kind of thing. So one thing I want to let you know that we have this ice cream box, which you know it'll fall off of it sideways, but if it's sitting down, it's just going to sit in like that. There will be some options I'll explain. Also, what I did when I made this is that I also made an ice cream sundae box at the same time. So let me show you that. So I'm going to kind of go sideways here so you can see it. So what I did is make them interchangeable. So that means you can use this ice cream lid for the cup and vice versa. So if I take that out, so that's why it's shaped the way it is. Normally I'd just do a straight lid down here, but I wanted them to be interchangeable. So there you go, you could use it in that. So if you buy both of these SVG files, whoops, I flipped it over. If you get both of these, you'll have options to switch out the lid. So each file has something a little bit different. Obviously a rounded ice cream lid and then one with whipped cream. And then you have sprinkles. So the sprinkles for here are actually, the sprinkles I use there are actually from this file. So this is what comes with this file, and then we'll have some additional kind of shaped mixed sprinkles that'll go on the cup. So there's some mix and match and some alternative files also that I'll mention throughout. So with that said, let's go ahead and get started. Before we start assembling anything, I'm going to go over I'm going to ink one of the panels. So what you'll notice in the file is that the files are situated like that to cut. So this goes with this. So if you are using something like a line file or something, if it's not random and it has kind of a pattern, you want to try to keep this with this. So when I took them off the mat, I took them in order. So that's the one at the base of that one, and you know, going down. So each layer, it's easy if you have straight lines to line it up, but not if you have a pattern like that. So you'll see that I inked them all a little bit lightly, and you can barely tell, but it does make a difference in person. But I'm going to just show you demo just really quick for those that are not familiar with inking. I have a little finger craft brush, and that's what they're called. And I'm using Distress Oxide, which you could use. This just blends really well, but you could use other inks. This is not the only ink. And I have this little scratch paper. I tend to keep old, I think this is an old printer paper that I tested to print. But I'm just going to go ahead and kind of go outwards in just to get a little edge. And it just finishes it off a little bit. It also creates a little dimension. And this is handy for like piecing certain items. It gives it a little bit more depth. But I just like the look of it. I always have. So try not to be too heavy-handed and make them similar. So I'm trying not to. So you can see I'm kind of getting the excess off here and then just going in slowly. It helps to do them all at once because you'll be more consistent. If you wanted to get the middle, it's kind of tricky. You'd have to have like a little Q-tip or something, like those little openings, these. So, or you could go from the back and go really hard and see if you can get the white edges, but I don't think it's that necessary. So I have those done. I'll just line it up, but I just wanted to show you the inking part first. So we'll go ahead and move that aside, and we'll start on the base. So I'm using Barely Art Glue today. Comes with a little tip and everything, that's why I like it, and I like the fine tip applicators. Boy, this is noisy when it hits that table. Wow. Anyways, we want to take the base pieces, which are these, and then these two. So this little skinny one right here, make sure you don't have the skinny one. Actually, what we really only need this one right now, because we're not going to put that on until last. And this is for the top lip of the cup. So we'll put those aside. So you'll go ahead and fold these really well. I am using a perforated dashed version of the file, which is the default version. So it folds really easily. With the 3D designs, I find that that's easier than using like a score tool. So it's up to you. It's a preference for you. But if you have to, if you're using a score tool like a score wheel or something like that on any machine, you want to make sure that you really get a good fold. So if you need them crisper, you want to use something like a bone folder. And the same thing, so that the crisper they are, the easier it is to fold sometimes. It just depends on the type of 3D design and box. So I already pre-folded these. So we're going to go ahead and you have them side by side. I have a little pin in there so it doesn't dry up. Sometimes it does, but we'll go ahead and add a little glue to one of the tabs just to get the two pieces connected, and then we'll glue all these little tabs here. Just going to line it up. So I'm going to line this edge up right to this tab fold, making sure it's kind of aligned on the top and the bottom best I can. So I almost made a mistake, and what we want to do is to put these pieces right here, the base panels, on first. It'll be easier to put on. But what you want to do, because you want to keep them in order, I would do this. Go one, so putting them in order. If it were like a regular line, it'd be easier, but we'll figure it out when we put these on, which ones line up. But we can always name them, but it doesn't matter if even if we put numbers on it, it's not going to help because they're going to be upside down. So that's up to you how you want to handle that. If you want to, like, so you can kind of see this, see how it goes like that, and you can kind of follow it with the gap. So I'm going to do that to help us, but we'll have to find this one obviously when we do it and match it up. So we'll make it work. So we'll just have to eye it. So let's go ahead. At least we cut them correctly. That's the key. And then we just line them up. So we're going to put those aside and just going to glue these on. So we're just going to center them. So even if you put it a little bit high or low in one spot, I would just be consistent as you go along. So I'm going to go right to left. So I'm still keeping them in order. And I'm aligning at least to the bottom, trying to center it, but I can see I went a little bit lower on the bottom, so I'm just lining it going across, having each one be the same. And then it'll be easier than putting it on after the fact. And I don't have a panel. At the very end, I'll talk about this edge. You could do a lot of things. You could add a little ribbon there. You could, I'm going to show you how I use gems. But there's options for you, depending on what you want to do. And you'll probably notice, I don't know if you noticed, but I put my glue a little bit in and not completely to the edge, so I have a little wiggle room if I need to move it around on the panel. And then we'll finish it up. Now we can go ahead and continue to put this together. So however you want to, wherever you want to start. So we'll start at this edge. I'm just gonna align this edge to the tab fold edge right there. And if you really want to know, you can, after you do it a lot of times, it gets much easier. But if you want it to be aligned, I usually can put my finger or my thumb there to make sure this is not sticking up too far. That's what it looks like on the other side. And then we just go ahead and continue doing all the tabs. So again, underline it up. So it really doesn't take that long, especially if you know how to do, you've done a lot of 3D items. There we go. If you do end up liking this project, or I mean, even if you like any of my videos, I ask if you can give me a thumbs up on the video, a like, and or subscribe to our channel if you can. And if you want to, you can hit that little bell to subscribe, and you'll be notified when we have new content, or if we have new content. I don't know how much longer I'm going to be doing this. I'm in my 9th year. I'll be doing a hobby forever. Well, as long as I can, obviously. I'm physically able to. So that's what it looks on the bottom. And then we're to the last one. We're just going to go ahead and you can add glue to both if you like. We'll do the larger one first, just because it's more likely to hold while we do that small. So we're just going to line that up like we did the others, like that. Gets a little bit fiddly there, so you have to hold it in place. So hold that one in place until it's secure. And then you can see that other tab right there. I'm going to fold it in. This is why the folding is so critical. I'm going to hold that. So I'm still going to hold that too, but you want to hold that for as long as it takes for your glue to dry, so you should get an indication of how long your glue takes to dry. I mean, like over time, you'll know how long you have to, but you typically, a small tab like that, I hold it a little bit longer. Now we're going to take this and glue it inside. This just gives it additional stability. It's something that I've been doing for, I don't know, probably since 2017 or 18. I can't remember. It's 2025 now. I just find it's easier than just adding a panel on the bottom to be able to give you some strength, and also to make it its shapes better when it comes to polygons. I do it for square boxes too. Not all of them. I used to not do it, but then I started doing it. So I'm making sure that it's kind of in place. I'm folding these out for a minute so I can fold it in. And I just want to push up. Hopefully you can see that. I'm making sure that it lines up with this edge, and then it's one of these edges is right inside that tab fold, and then get it nice and secure. We're anchoring it, and then with octagons like this, hexagons, polygons. So this is 6-sided, so it's a hexagon. I like to do the opposite, so I'm getting this edge in the tab fold and then folding it over like that. This is where it's easier too, because in the hole I can reach in. And we'll still be able to reach in to attach the top of the box portion to this space. And I'm going to do the 4 remaining tabs. So again, just make sure you can reach in, kind of push in to make sure it pushes against the edge in there. And you can just kind of go around and get it secured there. And you can see how I just pushed it down to get it out of the way. You're not gonna break it unless you take scissors to it. I mean, depends how, I guess, flimsy. I'm using 80-pound textured cardstock. So I don't know the GSM off the top of my head right now for those that follow that. That's probably the proper thing to do, but as much as I try to remember all the GSMs, I always have to look it up every time. I just know I use American Craft texture cardstock a lot, and I have used some Encore from 12 by 12 cardstock. I have a frog in my mouth, my throat today. So I wanted to do this first. I like to do this first so it gets time to dry for when we attach the top part. So that's the base all ready to go. And let's go ahead and start assembling the top portion of the box. Before we start putting it together, we're going to go ahead and kind of fold it and curl it a little bit. And these have already kind of been pre-curled. But if you look at the shape of the box, I'll pull that. It's going to curl like that. So we're just going to curl it, pre-curl it, so it's easy for us to put it, easier to put together, since I don't have any fold lines. So you can use your fingers like that, or you can use a tool. Let me get my stylus. So you could use it something like that to get the curl. These have been sitting for a little bit, so they were pre-curled. You could use a dowel as well. So let me go these two. I'll do these from scratch. So I do like to do it with my hands when it's a big curve like that. Kind of like that. And you can do it with your hand. You don't need a tool. But I find when it comes down here so it doesn't fold, that having something like this helps me curve it. You see that? I don't like to use a lot of specialties tool. Over the time, it's like I'm not really a content. I'm not, what would they call them? I'm a creator, but I'm not an influencer, I suppose. I don't want to force anybody to get a product that they don't want. I think you should just try things. I don't think with crafting you need all the fancy stuff either. I mean, I have some fancy stuff, don't get me wrong, but you don't need it. So, because I use the stylus for so many different things, it's just a multi-tool for that, and then I use it for other things, to curling flowers, that kind of thing. I have other sizes, but just that one basic one does a lot for me. So I'm kind of folding it there on that bottom one backwards. Oops, I didn't do this one. So pre-folding them, it just helps, especially when we go to line it up at the top, because we're going to glue it from top to bottom. And I'll explain why. So if you go from the top, and we're going to start with these two tabs up here, and we're going to anchor it, we can line it up at the top. If you start at the bottom, and I tried this, I don't want you to do it because I know what the issue is, but if you start at the bottom, you come up here, you could be just a fraction off, and it could be a little bit up or a little bit down, and it kind of throws things off a little bit. So we try to avoid that. So I'm not going to talk through the entire thing because it does take some time, but I'm going to do at least a couple of them. Talk through a couple, and then you can watch the rest of them. So I'm going to just add glue to start with. I mean, if you're really good at this and you're a seasoned crafter, obviously you can forward through. but I'm going to do 2 of them. I'm going to go ahead and line up at the top. Then I'm lining up this edge to the tab fold. And when you're doing, I did a lot of rounded on this one because I felt like the subject matter, it just looked better. I did it with the folds, which makes it easier for people to put them together. But I just didn't like it that you were going to have to put a ton of panels on, and the panels I wanted to look round, so that's the reason for doing it the way I'm doing it. So once we have the 2, we can reach in and I'm going to do like another, I'll do all the little ones. You can do a little bit at a time if you like. If you don't want to do them all, then you don't have to. You just do as many as you want and then do the next like this. Just reach in and add glue. So I have all the little ones. They have glue on them. And you don't want to put a ton of glue, but you want it kind of spread. And then I just didn't put on this last one. We'll just do that last. So however it feels good in your hand, and you can play around with it. I'm going to go this way. Depends on the size of your hands. And this way what I'm doing is I'm feeling right here to make sure that this edge is lined up as I go down. And you want to start from where you glue, then go all the way down. So from top to bottom. So that's the top, that's the bottom. And that's what it looks like inside. And I'll add glue on the last one. Right there. And there's the first one. Let's go ahead and do another. So same again, just going to repetition. Some people will add glue to more tabs all at once, but I'm going to continue with just 2 tabs to start with, to anchor it, focusing on lining it up. Like I said, if you were doing a lot of these, just lining it up at the top. If you're doing a lot of these, of course, you might have a way to optimize how you put them together. Hold those. And I could actually glue everything at once if I wanted to. It just depends on how fast you are and how fast your glue dries. The reason I have ended up using Barely Art glue and art glitter glue, because it doesn't dry quite as fast as, like I used to use Scotch Quick Dry, and also it's a little thinner, so it goes through the fine tip applicators better, for me at least. So I said that's kind of a personal choice when it comes to glue. So again, I'm going to go down, and if you feel more comfortable going this way, go this way. I'm really only going the other way just because of my finger length, basically. I have short fingers, and I have to turn it around to make it easy. The size of this is based on how easy it is for me to actually get into the box. So being that I have short fingers, usually my boxes are based on that size. So I'm going to go ahead and add the rest of them. The next 3 I'm going to add, and then I'll come back after when I come to the end, so I kind of can show you how I put it together, glue it close. So now we're to the last one, and we want to close it, so we're going to have to glue it like this. So I'd still go down for this one. Sometimes they say start at the top and then, do the top and bottom. And we can kind of do that method. What I would say is add glue to all of them. Also make sure you have all the panels there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I can't tell you how many times I've had a 6-sided and I only did 5 and somehow one of them went to the side. So let's go ahead and I'm going to add glue to all of them. Because by this time you should be... Hopefully you got the hang of it. You can still reach in to do the rest of them if you wanted to, but make sure they're pushed in. So we'll just pull up the ones we want to connect to start with, and then we'll pull them up with our fingers from the inside as we line them up. So just pull it apart like that so the glue doesn't get in the wrong places on the outside. We'll start at the front, the top. The front, top. So you kind of have to hold it open, line it up. So you still kind of want to anchor it. If it gets hard to, so right now what I'm doing is I'm pushing them in as I go down, right there. Let's get that top nice and secure. So it does help at one point, it could help to do the bottom, but it's so curved that I think just going down sometimes you just kind of have to jiggle it in place when it comes to this last one. So I'm going to glue that, but you can see it's pulling some under here. Then I'm just going to pull them out. There we go. That's where wet glue is handy. That's why I'm not a fan of doing glue guns or something like that, because sometimes you just need to finesse it into place, especially with shaped items like this. So inside, just making sure they all look together. So now, before we go on, we want to put the outside panels on and put them in order so we can rotate and see what looks good with the base panels that we did and line up. So I would do that next, and that does get centered like that. So you could curl them a little bit to get them ready. You don't have to do like the other one, just pre-curl them a little bit. Burnish, some people say burnish. Just say curl them. I'm using this is like a really light printed cardstock, so 65 pound. So it's easy for me to manipulate. And then just so you know that within the extra stuff folder, there's a version of these panels without any cutouts. So you can use those instead if you would prefer. So you could use just a pretty or fun, it's kind of like this one. This is not the default, this is the optional for this one. That's the solid version. The actual one has, obviously this is the actual one. That's the alternative one, okay? So let's go ahead and put these on. So I'm going to start towards the top and then center it on the left and right. So I just want the same space between the left and right of the panel, like that. So as we did with the panels on the base, we're just going to go ahead and continue putting them all on around so they line up. So you could, depending on where you set it to start on distance up here, I just want to match that so it looks symmetrical all the way around. Nice thing is we can reach in and apply pressure to get it glued on the bottom and reach in. So that's why we do it while it's at this state. Because it's curved, you really can't put on the panels early. Line them up. The other thing that I think would be cute for this is there's a couple things. Using obviously the solid panels, but using just the same color as the cardstock, and embossing it. I think that would be cute if you're not with a embossing folder. I thought about doing that, but I just needed to show you this. It's kind of hard to make multiples of this easily because it takes a lot of time. And the amount of versions that I made before getting to this was more than normal for some reason. It seemed like this was an easy pattern, but I got stuck at a couple things. I just couldn't make up my mind. So we have one more. So the other optional thing that you can do, I have the inside panels that are optional, and those are going to be in the extra stuff folder. I didn't think everybody would want to use the extra paper for that, but if you don't want to see the tabs when somebody opens up a box, then we have those, and I will show you. Now they are a different size than these, so that's why they're separate. I mean, otherwise, usually say it's the same panel size. You could go ahead and use these, at least the solid versions. So here are the optional panels. So because they're going to be inside, you want it curled the opposite way. So we could go ahead and hide the panels by gluing it inside. This panel is slightly smaller than this, so it can fit in there better. But it will take time, so if you do glue them, and I'm going to put them in because I have to demonstrate it anyways. I didn't put it, I would probably, I'm not quite sure if I would. It would depend on the process. But you don't want this to go above this, so you want to hinder that. So you might want to fold it down when you're putting it in. Make sure it doesn't come up. Reach in. I've got to show you. Got glue on my fingertips. Another cute thing I would think is to either use this, like the same paper for the inside. Paper other than cardstock would be easier, even though I colored it the same as the box. You could put a completely different pattern paper in here, which would be really cute. Just make sure when you put it in, make sure this folds down. Because if it hinders that, it's going to hinder us putting this edge on. Okay, so I'll finish those putting those on, and then we'll go on to the next step. So we finished putting the inside panels in. Again, that's optional, and that's in the extra stuff folder. But it does clean it up so you can't see the tabs inside. If you, like I said, you don't have to put it in the same color, but that's what in the file it's that way. So now we need to attach these, but we want to get them lined up. So make sure you know how they are lined up. So you might want to get it in and see if it looks good. So that one is looking pretty lined up. It might not be perfect, but because it's symmetrical, it will work. So we pre-folded all these back, so it would be easy to fold it back and glue it in. So make sure it's sure. I'm just going to put that upside down like that. I'm going to start by just gluing one tab. Oops, get it center here. So now I'm going to just fold it back. Make sure that the edge here goes to the inside fold. So it's pretty close as far as the pattern goes. I don't think it's exact, but it's close enough. Just so it looks like it should be that way. And then I like to do the opposite of where I start, especially on a polygon shape like this. I'm going to fold it back. And then you can just apply pressure on the top. I'm just making sure that it's pressed in so this edge down here goes flush against the inside fold, the tab fold there. So we're going to go ahead and glue the rest of them. Let's do it from the top here. Then I can kind of push. I'm pushing this the edge inside in here as I hold that tab. And the last two. And this is why we kept it open on the bottom. So now we can go ahead and add this bottom panel. So putting this little, this panel with the hole in it, it really helps it get the structure of the hexagon and keep it. Whereas if we were just to put this over it, you'd have to kind of line up the tabs, which is not always so fun. So I'm just going to line this up. Once you get it in place, you can go ahead and apply pressure on the edges here. So I'm just going to apply pressure there, and then we can flip it over and apply pressure like that. And you would just make sure you do it long enough so it adheres well, and there's no real big gaps here going around. Okay, so the last thing for this, I mean, other than we're going to put some gems down here, for now, the last thing on this is to put this top edge on, like that. So we're going to put this edge around it. So we're just going to start by gluing it on one tab. So we're going to glue it underneath. So it's important to get this, you want to make this so it's not too far over the edge, like so it doesn't go over the edge of this. So you want to line it up best you can. Let's see if I can get it in the picture there. You can see I'm lining it up, but I don't want it to be the edge of this to go over, so it fits okay on the other side. So if you get that one and concentrate on getting it in place, where like I said, it doesn't, the edge of this one doesn't go over. You want it to be in line or a little bit inwards. And when I say a little bit, we're talking like a smidgen. Okay, for this one, I like to go around the edges to adhere. So if you want to do it slowly, you can. You could add glue to all of them. I'm just going to do these two adjacent ones first, adjacent tabs. I like to take my time on this because I want it to look pretty good. I mean, we all want it to look good, but taking your time helps with this kind of thing. So when I'm lining it up here, you can see again, I'm being careful about how far out it is, and that's really lined up in line with the top edge. So we'll do that on this other side. If I go start or where I started gluing and go to the other side, it seems to fit better for me. So you're just not doing it in a rush. And then you could add glue to the remaining 3 tabs. Carefully try to get good coverage on the edge. You don't need a ton of glue, you just need enough to adhere. I'll angle in a second so you can see it. So there's glue in those last 3 places. And again, you can start where you ended, where you last glued. I'm doing this lightly at the end, only because I want to get it as close as possible. So I'm going to line this up, this little corner up here. I'm pushing it in a little bit. Going around the edge here. And then here's the last one right here. You can see how it lines up on the edge. And if you got enough glue coverage, everything should be good. I'm just going around and making sure. And that's all set. So other than, we'll come back to that in a little bit, but here's the cut portion. So now we're going to do the lid. So we're going to assemble the lid, which is the pink part here. We're making a chocolate ice cream with fudge on top. So we're going to go ahead and do that. So you can see it's a little bit more rounded on top versus the cup. So with that said, you can see I've already curled a couple of these. I'm doing the same thing I did with the cut portion, except for I'm curling it a little bit more with my stylus barrel here, or you can use a dowel to curl it or burnish it, however, whatever. So, and then these will be the panels we put on, so we can get that prepped. But we'll do that after we get it together, but you can kind of pre-curl them to get them ready to put on. I have a dowel too, but like I told you earlier, I like to have an all-in-one tool. And there's something to be, I will explain these panels because there are 2 different panels there. And we'll be alternating them to give it more organic look. That one I didn't do very well. Let's see. Okay. Got some glue, little particles of glue here. Gonna put that to the side, and we're gonna do the similar thing. We're gonna go ahead and glue just a couple tabs to start with to anchor them. As I go along, I'll probably put glue on 4 at one time, but pushing it in like that is going to help. So you want to make sure they're all folded and curled, everything, before you get going. It'll help your life tremendously if you're prepared. So we're going to go ahead and line them up just like we did with the cup. So we're lining them at the top, so if anything becomes uneven, like if we do our best to line up at the top, you'd rather have an uneven edge at the bottom because that goes into the box. Rather, you won't see it. Where if we start at the bottom and go to the top, then you're going to see possibly an uneven thing up there. I just have a little water that splashed. I was cleaning something and just saw there's water. Don't want to get our paper wet. So you can do about half or all of them if you're fast and you know what you're doing. You put as much glue, but if it's new to you and doing little tabs like this, do like 5 or 6 at a time and then we'll come down. So I always go slow the first time. So you want to go ahead, and I'm lining this edge up to the tab folds and making sure it lines up and it's not like way above it or anything. And you might want to have like a little damp paper towel handy just in case, because we're not going to want to see the glue down here. You don't want to see it anywhere, but if you practice not getting glue everywhere, that's helpful. Because when we have the syrup up here, we'll be able to cover it. I mean, it won't cover the edges. We're going to ink the edges a little bit, but that's why you don't want it to show, especially with dark paper. It's going to show more with dark. If you do like the vanilla or like a different, like a lighter paper, the glue won't show as much. But you get progressively darker, you're going to see it when you make a faux pas or whatever. So again, I'm just lining it up. So right there, the glue comes up. I can just use this. Or you could do that and put your fingertip on that. So whatever works for you. I mean, the glue does dry clear. I just don't want it to get on the like any splotchy. So that's what it looks like on the inside. So we'll do the next one. Again, I'm going to push them down so they don't get in the way when I'm anchoring on those first two. Line it up at the top. My earlier versions did have score lines in them, so it was more polygonal, but I felt like it looked better rounded, so that's why we have rounded ice cream now. So take your time if this is your first time. If not, I know there's a lot of seasoned people that might make this file, and they know they can go pretty fast. So I mean, even I have to go slow, especially when it comes to these kind, because I want to make sure it's lined up as good as possible. So I really get that rounded look. So after this panel, you want to just continue putting them on. This one does get a little tricky when you're closing it, so I'll come back to you. You can watch this fast. I have it in fast speed, so if you are doing it and you want to watch it, you can watch it on fast speed. But see, that's what I mean. See how that's like slightly longer? Slightly longer. If you started at the bottom, that might happen at the top for you, just because of the way it's rounded, and it's, you know, we're not as exact as computers are, so when we're gluing it together, it's not as exact. So anyways, I lost my train of thought. That's okay. So no, it's gonna be on fast forward. So if it's too fast for you, of course you just want to, it's gonna be more of the same. I'm just gonna come back to the end, so you can always pause it and then move on after that. So I'll go ahead and finish this and talk you through closing it. So we just need to close it. With everything, especially with the round item, it's a little bit more challenging. So I'm going to add the glue. You can flip it under first and add the glue if you don't want to get potential glue on the things, but actually I'm going to add it outside and then we'll move them carefully. So with this one I'm going to go ahead and add glue to the first, I think it's 4 or so. And you could actually do all of them, but I want to get it set. It's going to be hard to set it in place. 5. So I'm just going to grab it and kind of get it under so it doesn't hit the glue doesn't go on top. So fortunately we can reach to the top. We're going to go ahead and line it up. Right there. So it is a little tricky. You just want to get it lined up just like we did the other ones. And it's just maneuvering it with my other hand to get it lined up. Once we get it kind of anchored, it works better. So I want to make sure I take time to get these first ones in place. So you can see inside. Probably can't see inside, but right there. So we still have these to go. So it is a dark color. I'm trying to show you. So you can pull up the remaining ones. And you won't be able to see me doing this that well just because of how I pull them up. You can reach in or you can do this. Kind of gently pull it apart. And go in that way. Whatever's easy based on the glue bottle you have. This is where a fine tip applicator comes in handy. I'm just going to reach in, get it in your hand comfortably, kind of try to find out where I started, where I ended, I mean. I'm going to kind of get at the bottom first, that big tab, and then I'll just reach in and get the rest of these. So you kind of want to look in, see if any, like I have one that's sticking up. I know you can't see it. It's your angle, but I have one sticking up, so I may have to add glue. And then press it down. So if you were just not going to put any syrup panels on, because that's an option for this file, you could just put this, glue this on top. You can always glue it on the inside too. But we're going to go ahead and glue it on the top. So if you just wanted to use this with plain ice cream and some, maybe some, if like you printed out a cardstock with sprinkles, the entire thing, that would be a cute box. You wouldn't have to add you wouldn't have to add these. You wouldn't have to use the sprinkles included. So there's a lot of things you can do. Now they have so many printable patterns out there. So I'm just going to line it up on top. Oops. Just want to get it lined up. Then reach in and apply pressure against the tabs. Now at this point, I'm going to flip it upside down. I'm going to use a wooden chopstick to get those tabs. You see those tabs in there right there? Get the right angle. So right there. Those. So that will finish that. If you didn't want, like I said, if you didn't want the syrup panels, then you could just go with that. So there's different levels that you can go with this. And then let's go ahead and add the panels. So we have these panels. Now what my tip is to, because inevitably, especially if you have a lighter, let's say you had a vanilla and you had a chocolate underneath panel, that vanilla is going to show through here. So you can see where the panel is going to go, about right here. Right about there. So if you had like a pencil or something like that and marked a little bit above it, you can go ahead and ink up that spot. So I'm just going to get a little chalk ink. It's a ink that I used to use a lot, but they still sell them. They're Powder Puff. This is called Mocha Mama. So you have to see your pencil mark, of course. I can't really see it. So it's up here. So each one's going to be hit about the same place. It's right there. I'm just going to ink above that. So if there's a gap, this is the same color as the chocolate, this coffee color I'm using, and it'll hide that. So I can see it's about right there. So don't go much lower because you don't want to see it on the rest of it. And I'm going to do it all around this up here too. So let's make sure everything's looking good so far. So I could have went a little further down. You see how far down it goes? When in doubt, just put the panel up to it. I did inking after the fact, and this is way more effective. Now that I'm satisfied with how far the ink goes and it's in the areas in between, we'll go ahead and put these panels on. So I'm just going to dot the glue down here. So you want to start at the top and then come down. So reaching in is going to be a big help. Get it lined up. Oh, one thing I did forget to tell you is that these will alternate. So we'll put them in alternating we'll do that in a minute. So we started with one. We'll get the next one. So they look a little bit different, so you can tell. But we want to get these all flat like that. So you can see that one right there. So we have this shape. That's the middle. This one, that one, that one. So you have the one with the long drop on the left and the one with the short. So we're going to alternate. So first that one and then this one. So we'll put them next to each other so we can alternate. So I'll put a couple more on, and then I will let you watch the rest of it without me boring you with my banter. So do take the time to, you can see in between. Do take that's the reason why we inked it, but do take the time to get these, unless you want them to hang off. But if you want them flush like this, like I'm doing it, then you need to make sure that you apply enough pressure to get those flush. We'll do one more again. This is the short one, so now we're doing the long one. And then we'll continue to alternate. Now I'm going to actually, after this, place that middle piece so we have it set in place before we end. But line it up down towards the top, and then it lines up. Got a little bit of glue on my finger, so since that's visible. So let's put this middle one in there. You can see those are popping up. Making sure the textured side is up. Then all you have to do is finish the sides. So I'll go ahead and finish the putting on the rest of these panels. Remember, alternating, so the next one will be this one. So it'll be this one, and this one. So if you put them in order on your table, that'll be easier for you to see. So now we can make decisions. We can put a cherry on top if you'd like. But what I want to do with this one is to show you how I did Mod Podge, like that shiny part. I put the Mod Podge gloss on that. I put 2 coats. For this one, I glued these on individually, but what I'm planning on doing for this one on the video is I'll do 1 coat to get the base coat and then let it dry a little bit, which takes usually about 15 minutes or so. And then do the next coat and then put some of the sprinkles on, which will be these. I will show you how to put together the cherry, but we're not going to put it on this one. So this is gloss Mod Podge, and it may or may not look the same. It's a pretty old bottle of it. So I'm going to open it up. I'm just going to go straight from it. You could put it into a cup, but it's got a lot in it. So one thing I want to tell you is, and it's going to go out of focus, so I'm just going to put it to the side here. When you're doing this may be too big of a brush if you're heavy-handed or anything, but I have enough to be able to get into these small areas. So when you brush it on, I just go like this. Be careful, but if you need a smaller brush, I'd get a smaller brush. But I was able to, if you take your time to do it. You don't have to do this. This is completely optional, obviously. Getting the excess off. Of course, you can't put it on before because you have to shape it. So that's the hardest part of it. Just making sure you pay attention when it comes to these drips. But if you really want a realistic looking, you can also use a shimmer paper if you don't want to do this. There is shimmer paper out there. I'm not doing the best here, so let me pay attention. So you want to focus when you do this. This is not something you typically want to do like a video. Same time, I like to keep my lines kind of like similar, so I'll go ahead and continue doing this, and I'll just stay on camera. It'll be fast forwarded though. So that's if you want to watch it. If not, you can skip to the next part. So this is my third layer of Mod Podge. So it dried about 15-20 minutes in between. I don't put it really thick, so it dries pretty quick. But what I'm going to do, and the reason why I'm coming back, is instead of gluing on my sprinkles, I'm going to see if I can sprinkle them on. So they have to be wet, so I'm kind of going fast with this. And I wouldn't really need it to go down there, but I tried it as a test on something and it looked kind of good. So I have all my mixed colors. And again, you're just going to want to cut out as many. When you see that, you'll see there's only one set of sprinkles. And you want to go ahead and cut out the colors you want. I did multicolor for them. So there's stars, circles, a little flower, and almost like little regular sprinkles, just vertical ones. So let's give it a try. So I'm just trying this on camera. Hopefully this is not a complete fail, but if not, I can glue them on manually. So here we go. I'm going to put that down. And I have my little sprinkles here. So I'm going to mix them up. I did a little bit of this color and that color. I did white, yellow, blue, green, and pink. So it's all mixed. So I'm going to go ahead and, like you would randomly do, so it's not the best, but let's see if I can get it to go. Just like a messy, somewhat working. So let's go ahead and give it a try still. It's much easier than just gluing them individually on if you're going to do this route. So what I would do if I were you, would have some tweezers handy. And we can move things around if we wanted to. Just going to do it with my hands a little bit here. And if it doesn't work, it's fine. You just want to kind of glue them on. But I thought it would be fun to do kind of more of a organic look. So on other ones I did glue them on manually. So it's kind of fun. It's a little tacky still. So it may not stick the best, but that's okay. You can always Mod Podge over it or glue it on manually. So what I'll probably do is see what sticks and then add some things on manually. They can't really overlap, else of course it won't stick. But just a way to do it. It wasn't like the best way to do it, but the one thing it won't do if you have textured paper, which I do, that you won't have the texture on the outside if you just do it randomly. So I'm going to let it dry and see what sticks. Whatever doesn't stick, I'll just fill in. And I'll do manually, just kind of glue it. And I'm going to fill it in anyways with different colors. But let's see how it dries, and then we'll I'll go ahead and otherwise what I was doing with the other one is just taking them arbitrarily and adding a dab of glue and using my tweezers to put them on. And see, it's not sticking well, but you never know it's going to stick. As you can see, everything didn't stick. So I'm just adding little things here and there. So just going to add something there, and then maybe like a longer one there. So you want to be careful. You can go ahead and pick and choose. But be careful where you put the glue. It's easy to pick them up like with the round ones and the long ones with that. The stars, questionable. So we'll go ahead and throw, see, a little green star right there. So basically you could just do a filler in. This is how I'd do it manually if you didn't have Mod Podge anyway. So it's kind of tedious, but rewarding at the same time. That's how I did the other ones. So you just let it dry. And then we'll just add a couple more, and then we'll just call it done for now, because it really doesn't need much more. It needs a little pink on this side. So you can see we have I cut out more than enough. Figured I'd save it for later for something else. It'd be good for a filler for a card, for a shaker card. That looks pretty good. So we'll go ahead and just throw these back into our little cup and keep them. There's no reason to get rid of them. And it's still, the Mod Podge is not completely dry yet, but we can continue to, at least through this tutorial. The only thing I didn't show you is this optional. So if we didn't do this, if we could still do this and put the cherry there, but we can't now. Because I told you I wasn't going to put it on. If you wanted to, here's the basics of putting the cherry together. So you want to glue these two sides together, not the tab part, just the part of the bottom part of the cherry, and the little stem here. So it'll be opposite, like that. And then you'll see that it'll go over, if we're not going to add glue to the tabs, because we're going to put it through this little thing. Let's add this top panel, like that, on each side. Making sure I lined it up. Like that. So you can put it on top. This little panel that will be sliding the tabs through is the same color as, or should be the same color as your syrup. Or I made it the color of the ice cream, but you can go ahead and change it in the file. It'll be corrected to match up with the syrup color, but of course you can make it any color if you are planning on not using like the syrup panels. So you're just going to go ahead and slide them in, and you would put it on before you would obviously put any kind of sprinkles on. But we're going to go ahead and fold them back and glue them back. So you go ahead and add glue to one side like that, and then add glue on the other side. Then it would be all set to put on top. But of course, again, you would do this before you put sprinkles on if you chose to put sprinkles on. For this next step, I want to show you what options you could put something down there. You could put a little slip of paper. I don't really have a cut file, but I'm going to use gems, and I use gems 2 ways. This is the first way. So you see how they're evenly spaced? They weren't like the perfect vertically, but they're evenly spaced. I wasn't paying too close enough attention for some of them. So if you want to do something like this with individual gems, this is in the extra stuff folder. And what I did was basically line it up here. And if you want to see a demonstration, you want to go to the ice cream sundae box video tutorial. I did it on that, same exact thing. And I just mark where each one goes. I mean, you could put this on and then use it without marking it. You could cut 6 of this and do that. But I just put a little pencil mark on where I was going to put them. And you could do it perfectly round, that kind of thing. Or like I said, you could just glue it on and just cover it. So that the reason I say not put it on, but you could do liquid medium like glitter glue dots or enamel dots, that kind of thing. So I'm going to do that on I'm going to, as of this video, I hadn't made the sundae ice cream sundae yet, but that's in the ice cream sundae. So for this, I don't want to use it on this one. I used it on the other one, right there. So I just wanted to show you what that was for. I found I have strips like this. I don't even know if they sell it anymore. But I just lined it up and saw how many it would take to fill it up, and it was 10. So I needed 6 of those. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So I'm just going to put those on the edge. It just makes it easier because they're all attached. You can get things like this almost anywhere. I think my adhesive's pretty good too, but if you feel you need to, I always say little dots of glue underneath a couple of them doesn't help, doesn't hurt, doesn't help. So this is in lieu of having a bunch of little strips that you want to put on. I just find ways to bling it up that works for you. Just need to make sure I center it. So let me start on this edge. So whatever you do, you could do nothing and it would still look good. I have one with nothing and an edge with nothing on one of my sundae boxes that I've done. And I just inked it a little bit. So just a matter of your taste. So I'll go ahead and finish putting those on. So here's that finished ice cream cup with all the gems down there and nice ice cream with sprinkles. Like that. And the other version. You can see I just used white sprinkles. That's from the sundae box. And just to let you know, you can fit a gift card in there. Now, it's like that, but you kind of have to angle it around it. Like that. Since I made this interchangeable with the sundae box, this angles in. So to get that in, you'd have to go like that. So, but it'll fit comfortably in there. So there it is. I hope you enjoyed this project, and I thank you so much for watching.